Okay, today I want to look at the last part of this section we've been talking about in Exodus 24, verses 4 through 8. Moses, remember, they drained the blood from the animals when they made the sacrifice in verse 5, verse 6, verse 7. So they make the sacrifice. He takes half the blood from these animals, and it talks about he splattered it. And I love that phrasing, right? If I remember how that is phrased there, he says. Moses drained half the blood, verse 6, from these animals and bases. The other half he splattered against the altar. So the altar was covered with blood. Remember, this is representative of admitting our need for forgiveness, right? This sacrifice. Then he reads the book of the covenant. The people say, we'll do everything. They enter into the covenant willingly. And then in verse 8, it says, then Moses took the blood from the basins and splattered it over the people, declaring, look, this blood confirms the covenant the Lord has made with you in giving you these instructions. So he took the blood, the other half, and splattered it over the people. I find that to just be fascinating. So the covenant was also made with the application of blood. So as a nation, they received the blood of the covenant, and the covenant was sealed. Now, there was nothing supernatural or magical about this blood, but what it represented was the life of a being. I mean, Leviticus talks about this in Leviticus 17:11, one of the more well-known passages from Leviticus. Leviticus isn't a book we go to all the time as Christians. But it is very important in understanding how the Israelites related to God, and there's still a lot of application for us as well. It says, for the life of the flesh is in the blood. So the blood represented the outpouring of the life of the animal. That one life had been given for another, right? There has to be sacrifice. Someone has to take the place. So these animals for centuries and centuries were given as substitute for the people. The blood of the animal was shed as a substitute for the blood of the people. It makes great sense when you stop and you really think about it. Somebody had to pay the price, and he allowed this animal substitution. But eventually all of this was leading to Jesus. The fact that he would be a substitute, right? He is referred to as the Passover lamb. He is referred to as our final sacrifice. So his blood was shed as a substitute for us, but it was once for all time. His blood satisfied the wrath of God, which is real, the wrath of God. So our dealing with God through the new covenant is the same. We see God's word. God's word is read. A sacrifice had to be made, and we have to receive God's word, and we have to receive the blood sacrifice. We know who Jesus is and what he did from his word. We have read it. We know it. Then Christ's sacrifice is made. It was made for us, and we have to receive those words and receive that sacrifice. So there's a lot of similarity. We're just not splattering blood on Sunday morning in church because Jesus' blood was shed on Calvary. And it covers us just as that blood covered them. See you later.